Hello, this is Colleen with Speaking of Spirits, and I'm here with Gina and Kate.
Hello.
We are talking about how spirits manifest and the types of manifestations. In the paranormal community, there's this huge debate as to whether an orb is a manifestation or just dust. Right? We're not, it's just dust. Quit posting orbs. And here's, you can tell dust. You can tell dust.
And bugs, right?
And bugs. Yeah. When you, as you know, when we're putting together a video, you can go frame by frame on these videos and look at something. We'll look at something, and if it's an insect, you can see the wings.
Yeah.
Frame by frame, you slow it down.
Or it has a different movement.
Mm-hmm. And dust, a lot of times, it's drawn to your vents. Your heat returns, your AC returns, it's being drawn or blown. So when something that looks like a really clean environment, when you get a night vision camera set up and you turn off the lights and everything becomes black and white, if somebody walks through that space, dust goes everywhere. Even a really clean environment is dusty.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see them as they walk through. And that's obviously dust, and it's tumbling or being drawn somewhere, and it's all going into the same direction. It's being drawn into your heat or AC system. So, but we capture orbs, which react to us or come at us when we're talking, and they're illuminating the area around them. That's a manifestation. Not everything manifests in a human shape.
Right.
Or some do, or they're manifesting in shadows, or.
Mm-hmm. Well, here's an interesting fact, though. Our soul, our spirit, isn't in a human shape. Our body is, but our body is a living, breathing, dying thing. You know, so it makes perfect sense that perhaps a visitor. I classify a spirit and a ghost differently. A ghost is someone who never crossed. A spirit can be grandma that crossed and is coming back to be with you, someone who has crossed over because they've recently died. And a lot of times in the hauntings, when we see a shadow, it's because there's probably a ghost that has not left that is in that area. So it still is in more of its human shape, where, like, for example, a friend passed away in March, and I watched orbs going around her significant other, literally like this, around him and up, and then totally not what a vent pattern would be. And it was a glowing thing. So I don't know, maybe that part plays in it too, is the human shape doesn't necessarily come with a person who's passed that's just coming back to visit.
Okay, based on your belief, then my dad shows up and I can see him.
Mm-hmm. But he is literally manifesting a physical form. Because I've seen him.
You've seen him.
I've seen him. Yes. I'm talking like when you see the shadow.
Yeah, but
or the shape.
I would consider him that he's crossed.
Absolutely.
He's happy.
Yeah.
But he shows himself to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he showed himself to me too. Like I said,
last month.
Yeah,
there he is. Yeah.
So, but I'm saying like caught on camera during an investigation. That difference.
I also anybody who's watched oh God, I knew I would do this. The Amy Allen in her show, right? Well, she's not on anymore, but anyway, in that show where there's the detective and her, and she takes the pretty nasty hauntings. That's kind of their fortes.
Was this a reality or was this a made-up fictional show?
No, it's reality.
Okay.
Well, I don't know Amy Allen. I know somebody who knows her and believes 100% that she's spot on, that this isn't fake with her. You know, that she is a medium and she's an incredible medium, but her belief system is that anything that shows up as a shadow person is a very negative entity. Not my belief system at all. I've had shadow people in the house, and I think they were guardians to me, considering the things that were going on there. I think I don't know. Nobody's an expert in this field.
Well, and it's an intangible field. You can't like pick up that shadow and be,
Yeah, exactly. It's really hard, and so I think a lot of this boils down to our personal beliefs,
or experiences.
And experiences.
Yeah.
I think you think that if you believe that every shadow person is a negative entity, and you have a shadow person in your house, it's going to terrify you, probably. It's going to at least throw you for a loop because you think there's something negative going on, and it might not be. Spirits can manifest as a shadow, and that's not necessarily negative. Just like, I don't know how many times we get a phone call, I heard knocks in 3, and it's a demon. You probably heard 3 knocks because that's what you're conditioned to. You think the 3 is, associated with either the Trinity, the good things, or the bad things, and so people automatically go to demon. Or not.
Well, religion teaches most people if it's not of God, it's a demon. Yeah. When in reality, well, I don't know what you would call it, but in most circumstances, it isn't. There are bad things out there, but most of the time that's not. It's a nasty ghost that didn't want to cross because they're afraid to face their karma or whatever, and most of the time they're creating their own karma by staying here and not going to rest or crossing to peace.
Well, I've already told everybody I'm haunting them, so don't expect me to cross over and be gone. So, but and I think that we have orbs that we've seen. We've had shadows. We've had the full manifestation of a body, of a person. We've had obviously manifestations of smell, or you can hear them, you're audibly hearing them, or all of the above's going on at the same time. What are other manifestations that you've run across?
Are there flashes? Like, I haven't run across a lot. This is kind of newer field. Like, this is something I've more recently opened up to. But I feel like sometimes you see a lot of flashes out of the corner of your eyes, and I've been told that's something. Do you guys believe that's spirit? Do you think that's energy? Do you think that's something else?
Are you flashes of light, or
like you'll just see
there?
Someone there, like not
there's
someone.
Movement.
There's movement until you look and there's nothing there, and I don't know. Sometimes it's like either very bright or sometimes it can be very dark. I don't think that has anything to do whether it's positive or negative, but like just out of your peripheral, you see something move really quickly and you look over and then there's nothing there.
I have that happen all the time too. I mean, a lot of times it's right here and I see it, but no, I'll be in the kitchen doing dishes and I see a person go on my sidewalk and then I look out and there's no one there.
Yeah.
Okay. I get that a lot in my house. I'll get and I look, there's no dogs. The dogs are outside or they're all asleep or
Well, a really fun, and by fun I mean not fun for most people that experience, is the physical manifestation. The pinch, the scratch, the hair pull, the thing flying off the shelf,
right? The
door slamming, the drawers pulling out. Those can be very, very startling to people. And like I describe it, it was an incident that I experienced in Scotland, and a linebacker tackled me.
In the cemetery?
I moved the energy. As we walked up, you could feel the ominous. I wouldn't say he was I don't know what kind of person he was, but he's stuck in that grave, so I'm going to say he probably wasn't a great person. Anyway, it was like, my friends were like, yeah, we're not going in there. And I'm like, yeah, we are. And I walked over, and I'm like, we're admiring. It was like a vault, kind of a building thing. It wasn't a building, it's hard to describe it, but they have walls around some of the burial plots. And this one was from the 17 or 1800s. It was quite an old one. And it had skulls and crossbones. So we actually learned that day that when they had that meant it was a man of science, like somebody learning to do autopsies or research on medicine, or you had actual doctors, or you had, anyone who studied and researched the body or helped would often have skull and crossbones.
Yeah, that's interesting, because you would think that would be a negative thing, skulls and crossbones.
Well, this dude was not a positive thing. But you also have to remember, in order to get those bodies, they didn't always do it in the best possible way. There were grave robbers and all that kind of stuff. So I went over and I'm like, we're going to come in here. I'm going to move this energy back. We want no harm. We want no, we're not trying to do anything destructive. We just want to look. And we went in. They could feel the difference, my friends. They're like, yeah. We went in. We spent about 5 minutes in there. We took some pictures. We touched. It was like awesome. And so they went out and I went back to the door and I stood there and I said, thank you very much. I'm going to go ahead and put back in. I don't know. Got your energy shield or whatever, put it back, appreciate it. I turn around and wham! I got hit by, I don't even know, it knocked the wind out of me. I've never had anything do that. So yeah, can be huge physical manifestations. But I went back later and I said, I'm out here and you're in there, so.
Well, we had that happen on an investigation. I mean, I've been touched on an investigation several times, scratched, pinched, whatever. But Phil, this is the one that cracks me up. So we have a guy on our team, and he's a Marine, and I think he was actually Army and Marine. I think he did too. Yeah. If I remember correctly, he was in the Army and then the Marines. But he he kind of was a static, like not disbeliever, but not believer in the paranormal. And he would go just to, because he enjoyed going in. And then he got scratched that one time on the investigation at Pocatello Creek, and he comes running in, and he goes, look, I've been scratched, and he lifts up his, it was cold, and he had all his shirts on, his sweatshirt, and his jacket, and he was so
and
proud.
And they were tucked in, and the whole bit.
Yeah.
It wasn't
you could have, it was cold out, so he was bundled up, and he felt a burning on his stomach, I think it was his stomach, and then there was this huge rake right across him. Yeah, he was so excited. So, yeah, we always say on an investigation, I always tell whatever's there, I said, do not touch the rest of the team. You can touch me, but do not touch the rest of my team after that, because they're, So
yeah, it is interesting. But yeah, and the manifesting of, wasn't it like a shot glass? Something at one of the investigations, they had a shelf and a glass of some sort, something glass flew. I want to say it was Old Town, but I can't remember.
I can't remember where it was.
Do you remember that
remember it happening?
Yeah. My mom and dad told stories of a friend. This is out by Rockland, which is a small farming community. And they said the house that they were in was haunted. You'd watch the rocking chair rocking.
Oh.
No one was in it or near it. But one of its fun things was knives being thrown.
Oh.
They weren't just thrown. They stuck in the wall.
That is not cool.
Yeah, they was like, yeah, that is a little dangerous. But yeah, they literally, it wasn't like it fell off the cupboard. Like
somebody I was talking to last week just had that happen to them.
A knife?
Yeah, and I can't remember who I was talking to. A friend who said, yeah, this is going on. I'm like, well, that's not good.
Yeah.
Well,
and here's the interesting thing. Nobody was harmed.
Yeah.
So you're like, was it trying to scare them? Was it trying to warn them? Don't get up in my business or whatever.
Check on my knife throwing skills.
Yeah,
I've been working on it the whole time I've been on this.
Yeah, and she said they had a chandelier thing, and you'd be sitting there and play cards, and all of a sudden the shadows would get weird, and you'd look up and the chandeliers.
They're doing that, yeah. There was a really cool old restaurant in San Angelo. There's one little street that's like one block that's just really cool. So that's cool in San Angelo. Sorry if you lived there, but really hated it when I lived there. But there was this really old restaurant, and that was the primary thing. You go in there, and I'd sit there and go, because there was just so much energy in this place, right?
Oh, yeah.
And the cooks would always say, yep, knives are thrown at us every single day. Like, boom, right into the wall. And their wall was littered with, and they would never be hurt. I don't know how that timing, when a busy kitchen would happen.
They would have big card parties, and Mom would say, there'd be 8-10 people there, because they'd have, the card table set up and be playing bridge or pinochle or poker or whatever card game. And a knife would come. Sometimes it would fly from the kitchen out into the next room, the dining room where the big table was or whatever, and stick right in the wall. So you knew it was thrown with force. Not one person ever hit. But yeah, that's what they were like. Yeah, I'm not sure when I spend more time here.
Yeah, so that manifestation, that's a manifestation, obviously. And then what we have found is, like Gate City Coffee, we had the accountant that just never left.
Mm-hmm.
He's been dead for like 100 years and he's still working. I'm like, dude, you don't have to come to work every day.
Put the books down, sir.
Yes, it's like, please go have fun now. You're dead.
Well, it's
like, poor guy.
I don't know if you ever watched the show that Robin Williams did about his wife. I think she committed suicide and she was kind of stuck in this limbo purgatory.
This is a movie?
That's a movie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And he went there. She didn't know. She had died. She didn't know that it wasn't reality, but she was stuck in this, like, rut in the record or whatever you want to call it. And I think that that's probably like the person at Frasier and like that guy to help him move on. I did a house that this young couple bought and they still live there now, but it was haunted. The first day they moved in, he went to put his suitcase up on the shelf in the storage room, turned around before he'd get to the door, the suitcase come flying off the shelf at him and hit him in the back of the legs. And they were just like, oh, great, we just put all the money that we have in the world. No wonder there was such a good price on this house. But I did research and I went over and did a cleansing and a clearing there. But we found that the man he didn't build the house himself, but he was the first owner. He was like stuck there. And his wife, he died. I think he died after his wife. But I found the headstone. I took a picture of the headstone. I'm like, look, here's your headstone and your wife and your family's waiting for you. And they never, like, if you looked at, in Pocatello, it was on recipe cards at that point, the number of residents, like when they sign up for the water or whatever through the city. They had like 13 different tenants over like a 7 to 10 year period. So you could tell people would move in and be like, yeah, I'm going to move out. But yeah, it's really interesting that they can, conjure's probably not the right word, but get that much energy to physically cause doors to slam, drawers to pull out, knives to go flying,
footsteps
pinches.
Footsteps are a big
that's
thing.
a big one.
Yeah, that's what I have. Someone who was like, every time I went up the stairs, they were right behind me. I could hear them right behind me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard disembodied voices. That's another manifestation, right? So we've heard that on investigations. You hear that sometimes. You hear your name being called. You'll hear, hey. Yeah, that's, and you turn around and you're like, okay, well, say more than that. I need more than that to work with. The apparition is a big thing. It comes to me every once in a while, especially when I go to bed. Like, I'll be in bed and I'll be reading or something right before I wind down for the night, and then somebody shows up in my bedroom and they're pacing at the end of my bed, or had an old man, and put it out on our paranormal page. I said, there's an old man who just showed up. Does he belong to anybody here? And a woman messaged me right away and said, describe him. And I told her he had one shoulder hunched and one up, one down. This is what he looks like. She said, I think she said either that's my dad or my grandpa. I just passed away last week or something. So they'll come to me in once in a while. Yeah. It doesn't happen very often.
I had one who was actually my friend who passed, blew up my flat screen. Literally, it exploded. It didn't like shatter, but all the internal stuff, because I took it in to see it in there, like, did you have like a power surge?
Maybe.
Possibly. But yeah, flip my faucets on. This was one. I had a vase I had 3 vases. 2 had the 6-inch pillars in it, and the front one had 2 4-inch. So it was taller, but they were stacked on top of each other. She knocked that glass vase off the top of my refrigerator. The 2 candles were perfectly sat on my countertop, still stacked. The vase hit the floor, rolled across the room, and hit me in the feet. And it did not break. It went off the top of my fridge onto a hardwood floor. So it's strange. And I don't know. It's I know I affect energy, so I imagine they do, or they can pull in on mine, or with all of our electronics and everything that we have, they can absorb it. But it's kind of boggling to know the things, the physical scratches or bruises or a slap mark to the face.
And how do you, like, with me, if we get into a really active building, I'm exhausted within a couple hours. I can't function anymore. You see these shows with ghost hunters that stay there all night long. That is never going to be me. I'm like within a few hours I'm shot. I can barely walk. I can't.
We may need to work on how you shield, because it's like when we did the Stricker Ranch.
Oh yeah,
I'm super claustrophobic. I have extreme allergies, and I was in a potato cellar with I don't even know how many people in there all the time, and I was in the back, and I that was the first time I did group reading in public. I usually do private because private things can come up, but that night we were doing it for a fundraiser, and I was in there, and it was people, and you couldn't. There was like standing room only.
Yeah,
and it was going. I bet I did over 100 readings, and I did not feel. But when I was setting up my table, something was like knocked. I had this like battery operated lantern, so I could see the cards, and it like knocked it across the cellar, and I'm like, okay, let's talk, buddy. I'm here to help this place. I am here to do readings and help these people, and you can stay, but you have to be nice, and don't you knock my stuff down again. And I put it up, and I salted, and I smudged, and it went really smooth, and my energy. So it could be we need to work on some of the shielding, because if you are gifted, you glow different. Well, and they get it drawn to you.
I think they're taking some of my energy to manifest.
Yeah,
and that happens. And since I was paralyzed, my legs feel heavier and heavier as the night goes on, and I get to the point where it's like, if I don't get out of here, I'm not going to be able to walk. They feel like they're 1,000 pounds a piece. So it's just that Annie Hall's hit me hard.
Annie Hall's was weird.
That one, I felt like it was easier. I don't know. So I feel like with myself, I'm very gifted in shielding. So almost I have to like give myself permission to feel, or else I won't feel anything. But in Annie's Hall, I felt like there were some spots where it was just like either very heavy or like, yeah, just kind of that drain, and you just kind of put it back up for a second, and then like
I find I have like a medicine bag that I'll put in my front pocket, and because it's by my heart and it's by my solar plexus for protection.
Front pocket.
Yeah, and it is. It's like a little leather satchel, and it's got stuff from all around the world and protection things and things people have given me and all of that. And I find like that sometimes is like, okay, I've locked myself in the vault. I need to let a little bit in, but sometimes it's like, not supposed to be letting this in. Like, I didn't have it that day in Scotland, but normally, like here when we've investigated, I literally can feel them run up on me, and I turn around and they're like, just kidding, and they, so it's interesting. But yeah, I like feel like, okay, I need to open the window a little bit because I'm not feeling anything.
Maybe the reason why it affects me, I don't mind them using my energy because I'm trying to figure out who they are. But then it's like all or nothing. They take it all. It's really hard. It's like I don't have that, okay, you can only have 50% tonight so I can keep functioning. It doesn't work like that with me.
Maybe what you'll need to do is use one of, because don't you have that one staticky thing that puts energy out? Using that with you while shielding yourself more and see if that doesn't reduce that draw. Because, there's a lot of people and they're like, oh, my head hurts or my ears are ringing or like you said, my legs are really heavy or, I'm having my back hurts now and all that.
Yeah. By the time I turn onto the road and it takes me home, then I feel it go, and then I can get home and take care of critters and do everything I need to do before bed. But boy, I'll tell you, there are some investigations where it's like, oh, I'm there 20 minutes and it's like, I need to leave. But you got to keep working through it because there's all this stuff going on. And I just feel this battery just go with me.
Well, and our literal batteries go. Sometimes the recorders or whatever
with
a full brand new battery or a full charge and it's like...
Yeah. So beware of that if you guys are thinking about getting into investigation realm. It'll not only drain all of your equipment batteries, but your battery can go like that. And so be cognizant of that. And I'm pretty good about saying, okay, I gotta go. We gotta end this, or you guys stay. I'm heading out because I just can't function anymore.
Yeah.
It's like there's nothing left for me to give.
Yeah.
So
Well, and a super important piece of advice for anyone that's doing investigations, including our team, is mindfully, as you leave, you wipe your feet. Nothing may follow me. And putting that, and when you come in, whatever is here has to stay here. And it sounds silly, but it really can make a huge difference because I think it was Annie, it might have been Annie House, somebody got a hold of me and was like, I think something followed me.
I do think it was Annie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was like I walked them through. I'm like, do a detox bath, go outside, wipe your feet, smudge your house. Because, they can hitchhike.
Yeah.
Some of them. Not all of them. A lot of them are stuck in that spot. But there was a lot of things that happened in that area of Pocatello with the underground tunnels and with the railroad that came through and the gambling and prohibition and all of those kind of things. So I think there are roaming spirits around that area and those that are in a particular place.
I don't think that it was necessarily a bad building.
No.
But there's just so much energy in some of these old places you go to. Like, I'll be in Butte soon, and there's a couple of areas that you just drive through it, and I just go sit in front of the buildings. Like, ooh, it's crazy. So there's just places. There's history. History is.
Well, and especially if there was negative things, like there was prostitution and probably murder and, things like that. Mm-hmm. That's very heavy, dense energy. Mm-hmm. Where, the birth of a child, and that's very high, happy. But the other thing is, when you're gifted, they feel that. They see, they know who I am. They sense me. They hear me. So they are attracted to wanting to be around.
I don't think I've ever had anything follow me home because as soon as I get to my property gates, man, nothing's allowed in. I'm pretty, there's a few things that have come and gone, but it's rare for me to have things of just alien. But anyway, I have every shield and block on my house, and I still have to smudge it and salt it and all that kind of stuff. Because and I am really good about laying down the law. I lay it down to my granddaughters, and I lay it down to this other side, and it's like, and they still do. It's like, so.
I think you also have to think of all the people with you, because like Annie's Hall, there's so many people. I think people are also feeling the energy off of the other investigators. So on top of that, because there's parts of the building where like we came up and I felt like, oh my gosh, there's a lot of energy until we got to the floor, and then it felt like things moved, like went away almost.
That happens a lot on our investigations as we chase things.
Yeah.
We get into a space and it goes there. Mm-hmm. So we go over there and it goes here. And it just doesn't want to be messed with. And so I try to be mindful of that. And unless it's like Enders, where it was really negative, and we would like to get that thing out, but we've never really concentrated on getting it out of the hotel because we have an idea of who this person is and what they've done. But that one I don't mind chasing because he's a nasty character.
I had two friends who had history of living in Soda that messaged me and go, please don't go to Enders. Please don't go to Enders. Because they grew up in the town and all of the things that had happened and friends or family that had worked there and this and that. And it's like, it's okay. But we've had people that are very skilled about the things that they do and got taken to the ground by energy coming through them thinking that they were. Well, I got tackled in Scotland. So.
Yeah. Is Enders the hotel down there?
Yeah.
I just went down there for a baby shower and everyone's like, oh, this place is like supposedly haunted. And I went and talked to the front desk lady and she's like, actually, we've had a few groups come through, and she's like, that said that they did energy work, and she's like, I've worked here for like a year and a half, and she's like, I haven't seen or felt or heard anything. So it'd be interesting to have, I don't know when you guys went to Enders.
We did like, 4 investigations there or something?
Yeah.
Like,
the last one was like a couple of
years ago.
2.5.
It's changed management and this and that, and it's,
Well, you also have the people believing is seeing and seeing is believing, and she could be someone that's like, or not sensitive to it.
Yeah, I just thought it was interesting.
Yeah, so we'll be up this summer at the Libby Hotel in Libby, Montana, and I got to tour the hotel with the owner.
Are not last week attempting to refurbish it?
They are refurbishing it. Yep, and it's going to be kept really as authentic as possible. Their families owned it for the past 50 years,
Uh-huh.
and she wants to keep it as authentic as possible. Like back in the days when the loggers had the cleats on their boots, there's cleats like marks embedded in the hardwood, and they're just going to sand it and stain it, or bring it back to a beautiful finish. But they want to leave the cleat marks in there, and just they want it as authentic as they could. But they uncovered room 13. It had been boarded off completely.
Oh.
Yes, so there was a few things that went down in that room, and I met the person who was the engineer on the remodel for them, and he's working on a thing for work, and he asked me, he goes, "Oh, are you going to go over there to the Libby?" And I told him, "Yeah," and he goes, "I'll never go back in there." So, anyway, it'll be a very good investigation. We're going to do that one in the end of July. It's going to be a ton of fun. And what's interesting about that hotel is most of the activity happens during the day, not at night. Like the hotel goes to bed at night because everybody went to bed. It was never a brothel. It never had anything like that. It was just everybody went to sleep, So they want to bring it back to a functioning restaurant, hotel, and I think it'd be awesome for that area, especially because they have a few hotels there, but to have the old hotel functional and beautiful again would be incredible for Main Street. So can't wait to do that. But if you have any questions about manifestations or investigations, even if we're not in your area, you can get a hold of us at Pocatello Paranormal Research on Facebook. Send us a message. And we network with other teams kind of around the country. We can try to get you help if you have something going on in your home.
Just educate you to help yourself.
Or help yourself. And that's, we don't always tell people you need an investigation. Even here in town, that's not what we're all about. If you can help yourself, or if we can go in like we did up in Blackfoot just recently, talk with the people who are having activity, and they're comfortable now, I think, with what's happening there. Yeah. So I think it's just
a lot of people question their sanity.
Yeah,
did I really see that?
Am I really experiencing
really
this?
Happening? Yeah, this happens.
Yeah, we'll try to help you if we can. We'll try to get you help around the country. We do network, and we're always a phone call away just to at least chat and bounce things off. So please get a hold of us. If I can't answer questions, I have a whole team that we work together, and I will send your information out to the rest of the team. We keep everything confidential. We don't put your name out there, your location out there, unless you want it, like a business. Sometimes they want their stuff out there. And we don't charge. So not for that kind of stuff. Always. We'll try to help if we can. But I hope you enjoyed this podcast.
Yeah.
Stay tuned for more content. Bye.
You've been listening to Speaking of Spirits, powered by Pocatello Paranormal Research in Pocatello, Idaho. Thank you for joining us today. We're glad you could be here. If you're enjoying the podcast, please do us a favor and go to whatever platform you are listening to the podcast on and give us a review. We prefer the 5-star reviews. This helps us know how we're doing, and it helps others to find the podcast. Thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you on our next podcast.